The Battle of Anguish, the culmination of the conflict between Ariel, the Mage Queen, and Morgur, the Corruptor. In the season of Withering 283, one of the most ancient Tree Lords scattered the Corruptor's forces and seized the beast himself. As Morgur attempted to free himself, Ariel smote the creature. This time the Mage Queen was determined that the creature be destroyed. So she drew not only on her own power, but that of the forest as well. Before such an onslaught, not even Morgur could endure. Ariel battered through the creature's defenses and shattered his mutated form. The battle had been won, but the forest would ever bear the taint of Morgur's passing. Alright folks, this was from our community night. We are recreating the Battle of Anguish. Will the forces of Ariel, represented by Argwalon, and the Wood Elves be able to defeat the taint of Morgur, and not just one, but two, represented by the Beastmen, and also the Warherd of the Shadowgave? So enjoy the Battle of Anguish. Alright folks, you got the background, now welcome to the Battle of Anguish. So we're going to have Argwalon and Wood Elves facing off against the Beastmen and the Warherd of the Shadowgave. There's actually a double Morgur on the other side. Again, these are loosely based lore battles. Obviously we don't have Ariel in the game, so we do what we can. Anyway, there's going to be a Glade Lord on a dragon. This is going to be a... Is this the male or female version? I can't ever tell which one we get. I think it's, I don't know, Wood Elf. I'm just going to say female, and I'll probably be right. We got some Hawk Riders here for Argwalon. So yeah, the head of Argwalon is actually the Glade Lord. We've got 3 Hawk Riders here. Now remember, just Hawk Riders do a lot of missile damage, and then they have pretty decent... They do pretty decent armor-piercing weapon strength as they charge in afterwards, and they have a pretty solid charge bonus. So they're kind of a dual-purpose unit. Expend your ammo and then charge high-value targets. Argwalon also has a couple of Wild Riders here, and a Sisters of the Thorn over here. Now, Sisters of the Thorn is a magical support unit, basically. And leading the Wood Elves, we have Durthu, and he has brought War Dancers and his Tree Spirits. There is a Spellsinger Lore of Life here for Argwalon. We do have the Firebark Elders, which you all saw on the intro. Some more Treekin. There are Eternal Guard. There are Glade Riders. And there are some Dryads out front. And then Vanguard deployed. We actually had the Wild Hunters of Kurnos Vanguard deployed right in the middle of 2 Chaos Warhounds with poison and 2 Centigores with another Wild Rider. And obviously that is not going to favor Argwalon's forces. Now for the Beastmen, there's some Harpies, Razor Gore Chariots, unit of Minotaurs with shields, and then the Butchers of Kalkengard, which is their Regiment of Renowned version. There are 2 Ungor Spear Herds, 3 Ungor Herds, and then there are 3 units of Ungor Raiders. So pretty decent ranged unit. And for the Warherd of the Shadowgave, we're going to have some Ungor Herds up front, and then there's some Gore Herds with shields, and then Blackhorns, Ravagers, again the Regiment Renowned version of that. 2 more Ungor Herd on the far flank. There are a couple of Ungor Spear Herd in a second line, along with some Ungor Raiders. We do have a Gore Bull here, who looks pretty dang awesome in the Warherd of the Shadowgave colors, in my opinion. We do have a Cygor in the back, and then we've got Morgur the Shadowgave leading both of these. Then there is a Bray Shaman, Lore of Beast here, and he is going to have Transformation of Kadon and Curse of Honor Air, 2 very good spells. There are Centigores out there as well. So we are ready for the Battle of Anguish, folks. Get yourself ready. Can the Wood Elves defend their realm from the onslaught of the Warherd of the Shadowgave, led by Morgur? So the Glade Dragon, obviously going to be a very powerful unit here. We're going to see a summon, Feral Manticore, come up. Probably meant to busy the dragon and maybe help do damage to it. But you can see that the Glady actually falling back at this point, which is a smart move. We're going to see the Wild Riders intercept the Beastmen, or at least feinted too. I almost kind of think they maybe should have intercepted there because they would have gotten a brutal charge. Right now, the Warherd of the Shadowgave is a little too far away to support this fight, so the Wood Elves are going to need a quick knockout over here, and then to do some very nice distraction. They could do this with the combo Hawk Riders and Glady. I almost wonder if they could push in here, have the dragon get rid of the Manticore while the Hawk Riders pick at the archers, maybe start taking some archers out, but we'll see. You can see that the Beastmen forces get absolutely shellacked early on, and this is a result of Durthu and the Firebark Elders. These are very, very tough units. There's actually going to be a Manticore summoned for the Wood Elves now as well. You can see it back over here. There was a Spellsinger Lore of Beast and a Spellsinger Lore of Life. The Minotaurs have already routed, so a lot of damage being done here. Very nice Awakening of the Wood. It's a spell that's probably not used enough. And then a Flock of Doom there from Durthu. So Durthu is great at busting up infantry blobs. Now, if we take a look at what's left here for the Beastmen, they took a pretty good shellacking in that initial fight, but there are 5 Ungor Raiders sitting back and very little range for the Wood Elves. They've gone very melee focus. So they probably have a pretty good chance of beating down most of the Beastmen infantry. Dryads are quite good at it. They've got a lot of units in here that are helpful. A lot of Wild Riders rolling around. The Hawk Riders can pick good positions. We've got Glade Riders. There's more Treekin. And you can see the Beastmen kind of keep leveling all their forces into this blob. And right now the blob really favors the Wood Elves. There's a lot of really high attack units in there. And then Durthu causes terror. The Firebark Elders are really going to be blowing up everything in there. And then as they blob up, they are vulnerable to Flock of Doom. So you can see that the Beastmen taking heavy losses every time they get in the blob. So far, a pretty good engagement. If we take a look at the troop count here, I say a pretty good engagement. Actually, it's not. The Wood Elves have traded almost 1-for-1 with the Beastmen. So it looks good the way everything's routing, but it's actually not a great trade at the moment because the Beastmen outnumber them about 4-1. So they can't trade evenly and expect to win this fight. They're going to need a chain route. And that'll be difficult with units like this coming up. Chaos Spawn don't route, though these ones will eventually go away due to the fact that they were summoned. Got the Hawk Riders up here. They're able to deal a lot of damage. Right now, they are targeting Minotaurs. Makes a lot of sense. Try and help the Dragon clear that out. The Dragon's going to need to use its terror quite effectively. There are some units here for the Wood Elves that aren't being activated back into the fight as quickly as they should be. They need to get into this fight, and honestly, one of the big focuses right now really needs to be the Ungor Raiders. But there are Minotaurs protecting, and there's a few Centaurs still around as well. But the Ungor Raiders need to be destroyed. Durthu, though, is a little bit exposed, and he is a huge target. And although Ungor Raiders don't cause armor-piercing damage, Durthu is just big. He's hard to miss. And it makes him somewhat vulnerable even to non-armor-piercing archer fire if it's massed, or if it's persistent. Now, as we would expect, the Beastmen that were slaughtered mercilessly in round 1, a lot of them have regrouped, and they're coming back in for a second run. And this can actually be a dangerous thing whenever you're fighting Beastmen and Greenskins. Their second waves can sometimes break you. Their low leadership may see them exit the battlefield quickly, but they can come back, and they can cause a lot of damage. If we take a look at the numbers here again, now there's been a little bit better trade for the last little while for the Wood Elves. I kind of expected to see the Hawk Riders dive bomb all these Ungor Raiders and try and lure them in. I mean, there's so many Ungor Raiders. This would be a beautiful spot for a Flock of Doom right here, or Sword of Daith if you brought it. Does not look... Yeah, Sword of Daith is there. Sword of Daith and Doom Flock would have done some serious cleaning up on this blob, but instead Durthu routes because he was too far extended. Awakening of the Wood here should at least slow down some of the Beastmen pursuing, cause a little damage, but it's too little, too late. Durthu's been driven away. The regrouped Tree Man will try and cause some damage, and numbers are just working against the Wood Elves right now, and then they have a major problem. With Durthu off the battlefield, all you have now is the Dragon for major damage, and you have 2 healthy Morgurs on the battlefield, as well as quite a lot of Beastmen infantry to clean up. You see Morgur here going to come after one of the Spell Singers. I believe this is the Lore of Beast Spell Singer. So definitely not a good place for the Spell Singer to be. Morgur would cut through that kind of stuff very quickly. Still a decent number of units here, but the numbers of the Wood Elves running low, and again, because they weren't able to use their Wild Riders and Hawk Riders, they definitely should have combined Wild Riders and Hawk Riders. These Ungor Raiders were a key target early in the battle, and now that they haven't dealt with them, look at the danger that the Wood Elves are in. They're blobbed up fighting the Beastmen, which under normal circumstances might favor them, but with the Ungor Raiders focus firing into an easy blob, it's not going to be a good place for the Wood Elves. See the Hawk Riders circling. The dragon in combat, doing everything they can to break these Beastmen, and more Beastmen seem to be regrouping and coming back into the fight. And now with both Morgurs present, the terror impacts are much lower. You can see the dragon starting to drop. The Spellsinger Lore of Life is still around, so potential healing, but how much is left to question here. That was a pretty solid breath attack from the dragon. Got a little bit of damage done over here. But there are quite a few Ungor herd, and then on top of the 2 Morgurs, there's also a Gorbol and a Cygor to kill, and at this point, it's just looking like the Wood Elves will not have sufficient numbers to be able to finish this fight. Cygor is not bad in melee. He can get some work done. Causes terror as well. So you can see Gorbol up in there, along with the 2 Morgurs, and it looks like the Forest of Athel Loren will fall, be corrupted, and infested by the war herd of the Shadowgave. And you all thought the good guys would win. Not always the case on this channel. And that's part of the fun of these battles, right? I don't know what the lore is. For all I know, the Beastmen really did destroy the Forest of Athel Loren. But yeah. This was a community night battle, folks. In case you didn't catch on to that, I like commenting these afterwards because I know some of you don't like watching the actual video on demand back because there's all of the stuff that happens in a live stream, like lag or in between battles, and that makes sense. That's why I try and put some of these up there as highlights, to be a little more cinematic. So I really appreciate Baron Von Boot. Mr. Woof Woof, I'm trying to remember who he is right now. I know it was one of the players I'm familiar with. I'll think of it here in a minute. And then Sebedy Swooty and Ungrim Iron Fist. Appreciate you all playing a fun battle here. I do like the smaller, a little more elite army from the Wood Elves. That's to be expected against the Beastmen. I think these Hawk Riders had to get after the Ungor Raiders early, along with the Wild Riders and the Sisters of the Thorn. You had a lot of Wild Riders and the Sisters of the Thorn. I feel like that you should have gone and challenged those Ungor Raiders, and if they would have challenged the Ungor Raiders, I feel like this battle could have turned out very different, because the Ungor Raiders killed Durthu. They straight up killed him. And with Durthu around, along with the dragon, and then couple that with the fact that you had a pretty good number of Treekin and a Tree Man, I think that the Beastmen find themselves in a rough place, because they didn't necessarily have a lot of great anti-large options. Their Minotaurs can do a little bit of armor-piercing damage, kind of okay at anti-large, but nothing else here really good at it. Morgur's not particularly good at anti-large. Ungor Spears, they trade good for the price, but you need a lot of them to make it work out good. So I think that it would have left them in a pretty interesting scenario had they been able to take out those Ungor Raiders earlier. But if you leave archers until late game, much like the Battle of the Finuval Plain that we watched last time, those Sisters of Avalorn get left until late in the game. Archers are going to wreck you. It's just that's what's going to happen. They're too damaging in the late game to leave around, and it hurts the morale of your units even more than they might already be hurt. So it's just something you got to watch out for. Let's take a look at the kills on all the armies. So Baron Von Boot getting some work done with Durthu and his Treekin. Not too bad. I'm actually surprised to not see more kills on these War Dancers. I don't know what happened to them. I would have thought that these War Dancers would have been slicing and dicing Beastmen infantry, but you almost saw a better performance out of the Eternal Guard and the Dryads. So interesting. I would have to go back and look a little closer there. And same thing here. Obviously, one of their Wild Riders got ransacked early on. But, you know, with all that mobility, definitely got to be the one out taking out the archers. The combo with the Glade Lord, the Hawk Riders, and the Wild Riders, definitely you can certainly get after 5 Ungor Raiders and cause a lot of damage, potentially. But in any case, we take a look here at Sebedy's army. Getting some kills with Morgur. Otherwise, he just had a huge army, and you could afford not to get a ton of kills with each individual unit. It's going to be roughly the same with Ungrim, but his Cygor got some pretty decent damage done. And then keeping the heroes in the army safe, always a smart play. Anyway, hope y'all enjoy the Battle of Anguish. Make sure you join us on Tuesday nights. There is a link down in the description. Go click that link, get yourself involved in Community Night, and we would love to see you there. You don't have to be a really skilled player. Just come join in. So every Tuesday at 8 p.m. U.S. Central, and we take suggestions every week on what the Community Night is going to be focused on. So come join us. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I do hope you all enjoyed it. I will see you again soon. If you did like the video, hey, go hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and then leave me a like and go down in the comments and have a chat about it. All that kind of stuff helps me a great deal, especially if you already subscribed. liking, commenting on every video. It's a big deal, and I really appreciate it. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now.